I'm Earl Brown, and welcome to episode 2 of Tell the Story, a Jazz Journeys production with our guest, jazz musician Warren Oree. In part 1, Warren talked about the times when he was running the streets, being in and out of prison, and the chance encounter that caused him to change his life and become a musician.
Some of those guys now are dead. Quite a few of them are dead. Some of them are doing like 2 and 3 life sentences in the penitentiary. But a couple of them also changed up. There's one guy named Pickle who's still around. He works at the VA hospital. And Pickle even came to a show I was playing at the old Zanzibar Blue on 11th Street. And he came not knowing I was going to be there, and I didn't even know he was coming. But as I'm setting up on stage, I hear something say, Butch, Butch. And I looked, and it was Pickle. Now, Pickle was one of those guys that had came up to my apartment with the guns. He says, man, I heard you was doing something, but I said, yeah, man, this is me now. And that was such a beautiful evening because I could see in his eyes that he couldn't believe it. So, but again, unfortunately, most of the guys are dead or doing long prison terms. Now, me personally, I think if I hadn't fallen in love with this bass, I would either be dead or doing some long prison terms. I know it for a fact because I had no boundaries. The only thing is I wouldn't mess with children and wouldn't mess with old people. But anybody else was fair game. Fair game, particularly if it was somebody who thought they were tough too. It was fair game. And I knew what was going to happen. Last time I went to prison, it was because of that. Some guy, Sonny Reds, he just thought he was better than me, but he found out he wasn't. But anyway, I ended up doing some time for that. So I know for a fact, and that's why every time I play my bass, I'm still fascinated. Now, it's been, 50 years or so? I still can't believe it. I still can't believe that I'm actually playing my bass. And this is the thing that knocks me out, that I have the respect of my peers. Other musicians act like I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, wow, man, you know? And so when I'm playing and my eyes are closed, people have no idea how many trips I'm taking. I'm back in Greater Fort Penitentiary. I'm back in the Army. I'm back on the streets. I'm back in so many places where I could have been killed. And so when I'm playing the bass, I'm playing all of that, playing all those feelings. And it's just good. It's a release, but it's also something that captures the moment. I do believe that not a lot of people pay attention to the ironies in life. And I've had a couple with this music. One, I can mention, well, actually there's 2 short ones. One is when the Uptown Theater was jumping, around 1963, I was 15, and we used to go to the midnight show. Now, of course, Uptown Theater was around Broad and Dauphin, and we were from Southwest Philly, 49th and Woodland. But we didn't care. We'd go up there. Now, we're standing in line, and the gang at that point around there was 17th and Susquehanna. And they would come by, like harassing people, and we used to say, man, it ain't no Susquehanna Avenue. You better call yourself Susquehanna Street, because it ain't but one avenue, and that's Woodland Avenue. Oh, man, you talking about. So anyway, this spilled into the theater. And while we're there cussing and drinking wine, I'll never forget this. Sam Reed was running the orchestra then at the Uptown. Now he's playing. They're playing like they're warming up for the acts to come out. And we're in there cussing and hollering. He goes backstage and brings Georgie Woods out. Georgie Woods, after Sam told him, Georgie Woods stopped the show and said, "We're not going to go any further until we get these hooligans out of here." And so security came, got us out of there. Now, let's fast forward about 40 years or so. Can you believe that I hired Sam Reed to play in my group? And, you know, again, who would have known if someone had told me then, 15-year-old Butch, this guy who wants you to get out of here, you're going to be using him as a musician in your band. What? So Sam and I talked about it. Now, Sam didn't remember me per se. He remembered the incident, but he didn't know that I was one of those hooligans. And when I told him, we just had so many laughs, so many laughs. The other incident of ironies is one of my sax players who no longer is with us, passed away, Umar Rahim, one of the baddest blowing cats in the world. At any rate, I used to hang out with two of his brothers who were thugs like me. Now, they lived in my neighborhood at 46 and Linmore. And I would go over to their house, and we'd be, me and his brothers, Norman and Nooney, we'd be downstairs drinking wine, laughing, and acting crazy. Umar would be upstairs practicing. And we'd be messing with him, "Man, shut up all that noise, blah, blah, blah." So here we go again. Let's fast forward 30, 40 years. And Umar is a member of my band. Now, let's put a little icing on this. After his parents died, he moved back into the house to take it over. And so we would have rehearsals there. Rehearsals in the same house where I was in the basement shooting insults at him, and he was playing. Now I'm upstairs playing the music with him in that same house. So believe me, I know the ironies of life, period, and that you never, ever give in to other people's expectations of you. And I remember on my last birthday, somebody said, "How old are you?" I said, "Well, 75. And I said, "I've lived at least 55 years past what the neighborhood prophet said I would," because most people said that I would be dead by 20. And I understand that, the way I was acting. They said, "Boy, you ain't never gonna live to see past 20. And so here I am, 55 years after that doomsday prophecy. And of course it's due to the Creator, but it's due to the Creator giving me enough sense to go to the music. The music truly saved my life. Well, as far as the penal system trying to rehabilitate, I'm going to be real. There's very little concern about rehabilitation. It's all about punishment. That's it. Of course, they may have some programs here and there, but the programs are really kind of just token programs, so they don't get a lot of negative feedback from politicians. So I think that it's important that people, particularly people in the penal system, prisoners, know that there are other options. So what I feel that I'm doing, I go to several prison systems, Chester County Prison. When Greater Ford was still active, I would go back to Greater Ford, which was always spooky because I'd walk down and look at D Block where I was at and I could see myself standing up against the wall. But what I do is this, I don't do a whole lot of preaching and stuff, so to speak, but I just let people know two things. Don't let the system or anybody dictate how your life is going to be. Don't fall into the trap of giving up, of saying, "Oh man, I ain't going to be nothing, and so I might as well do this." Don't do that. And again, I let them know my story. And interestingly enough, some of them know my story offhand because some of their fathers and stuff, when they told them who I was, some of them remembered me. So when you have some kind of credibility, so to speak, you'll get people to listen to you. Because, you get a lot of cats up in prison, a lot of visitors. They have no idea what it's like to be in prison or in the streets. So how are you going to go talk to these young butches and tell them, don't do this and don't do that and don't do this? Man, they don't care nothing about that. I didn't care anything about that. One of the things that I learned in prison was how to stick up somebody. What they would do, some of the cats who had experience, they say, look, if you're going to stick up somebody with a gun, never point the gun at his stomach because they make it a little courage. Put the gun right between his eyes so he's looking down the barrel. And chances are he's not going to do anything but whatever you tell him. So these are the kind of things you pick up. I learned how to strap a razor to a matchbook where it was concealed. And when you open the matchbook, there's a single-edged razor taped to the top of it, and you can slice somebody's throat. These are the things you learn in prison. And so my goal, whenever I go there, is to talk about other things. Again, other options. My only option, I wanted to be, there was this cat in my neighborhood named House. I wanted to be like House. That was it. That's all I wanted. House used to drive around one of them big fin Cadillacs and had this was before pit bulls. He had a boxer dog in the seat, always a fine woman. And he would drive around and just look so slick. That was my goal. That was the only option I wanted. But even he told me, it was interesting, he said, Butch, you got a good head on your shoulder, man. You better get off these streets. Of course, I didn't want to hear that. And even though several years later, somebody blew his head away, but I didn't care. That was the only option I wanted, was to be in the street and to be, not so much be the toughest guy, but be a survivor of that street life, being able to hang with it, being able to walk down the street with a reputation.
You've been listening to part 2 of Tell the Story with our guest, jazz musician Warren Oree. But stay tuned, because in our next episode, Warren talks about the lessons he's learned and has been able to pass on to others going down the same path that he was going down before music changed his life.